I was born in 1960 to an upper middle class family, both mom and dad. My dad was very strong-willed in the entertainment business. My mom was a housewife, so socially economic, it was like Leave It to Beaver. I always had crushes on my PE teachers, female PE teachers, and I always had crushes on teachers, and not my guy friends, but their moms. And when I discovered that I was probably gay, I couldn't tell anybody. And I suffered in silence for a very long time, praying that it would go away. And so I had a pretty unhappy adolescence. I did come out to my parents at the age of 22, and they were not supportive at all. In fact, they said that my father's career could be ruined, and they asked me to move out. And so I moved out 3 days after I told them that I was gay. So that was kind of heartbreaking. So how my career started was after I went to school to get my master's in marriage and family therapy, I went to this woman named Terry DiCrescenzo, who runs this organization back then called the Gay and Lesbian Adolescent Social Services. And she said to me, I'd like you to apply for the director of foster care. And so I did, and she hired me. My job, and again, this was in 1991, to train gay and lesbian parents to take on children from the age of 0 to 17, and we actually placed HIV positive babies with parents, and back then, for 2 men to be able to be a foster parent to any child was basically unheard of. But all my parents were gay and lesbian, and in the 4 years or 5 years that I was there, I probably went to 15 or 20 adoptions. And so that was the best job I had ever had as far as being of service. After I got licensed, I decided that I wanted to work with the transgender community. And so when I was working with Terry, she was working with this person who identified as, well, Terry had told me that this person was lesbian identified and told the client, like, you just need to kind of embrace this part of you. And so when Terry couldn't see this person anymore, I took over the case. It became clear pretty quickly that this was not a lesbian identified person, but that the person loved women. Her name was Laura. Then they changed their name, and this is the metamorphosis that happened. As Laura worked with a baseball hat and only looked at the ground, and very unhappy, alcoholic, all of it. And then during our time together, he took on the name Jake. His baseball hat started coming up higher on his head, and he just, something changed. And then he eventually changed his name to Buck. His name is Buck Angel. And he ended up getting married kind of twice. He got involved in the porn industry. And we have had this relationship for, I hate to say it, but it's got to be almost 30 years, 25, 30 years. And he's, he's a really happy guy. What's wonderful about him is he's very comfortable with his vagina. And he talks about his vagina all the time. And so, like I said, he's changed my life. He's the one who got me to end up doing this work. So talk about beautiful moments. I would never have done this work if I had not met him. A lot of people have helped me be okay with being myself, and I've kind of been my hardest critic. And probably the women I've been with too have been really influential. I mean, certainly Ellen DeGeneres was great because she came out at a time where I couldn't, or Katie Lang, or Melissa Etheridge. There weren't a lot of people, but at least I felt finally like I wasn't alone in my struggle. And so the more people that came out, the easier it was for me. And so I'm grateful to many of these people. And as far as the transgender community is concerned, I'm glad that more people are starting to come out now. But even with the people I work, my clients, they don't have a lot of role models. There's still this sense of, for my older clients, there's that Jerry Springer kind of feeling about it, where they don't think they can live happy lives. And I'm here to tell them, you can do it, and I will help you. It's interesting because the more that I'm now working with young people that say that they're gender non-binary, that they don't feel like they have to put themselves in a box, which is great because even on forms, it's just humiliating now for us to see that it's either male or female. I'm learning so much from the kids. They don't like either of those boxes. And even though I've been doing this forever, the kids are really kind of changing how things are going. And I think it's really exciting. So I don't assume anything about anyone that walks in my door. It's tricky about what's going on because there's something about that fluidity that is really cool and wonderful, but the part that's challenging is if you're going to go look for a job, you still have to hit one of those boxes. More people now are getting facial feminization surgery than they're having gender reassignment surgery because people care more about their face than they do about their genitalia. And what I'm watching when I'm working with a 14 or 15-year-old adolescent, that a lot of times the parents are on board. Sometimes they're more on board than the kids. You know, that the kid doesn't want to come out, but the parents are like, let's get started. But if you have parental support, it goes very smoothly. And that, I'm very excited for this new generation. Being transgender is 30 years behind being gay, and so I'll have parents come in and we'll talk about their child being gender fluid or gender queer or transgender, and the parents will say to me, why can't my kid just be gay? And so I'm just blown away by that now being gay or lesbian is almost a non-issue, but being transgender is still not understood, you know, completely, but at least it's out of the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, so you can never diagnose someone with gender identity disorder because it's a medical condition and not a psychological disorder.